All right, Anna, you ready for another one?
I sure am.
All right, this comes from Reddit Advice and user Jellybones2. Communication tips for a relationship.
Ooh, fun topic.
I've been with my partner for over 4 years. Life has thrown a lot of stress at us during this time, and we are both under financial pressure. Lately, we have been fighting so much. Stupid little things that we should be able to move on from quickly turn into yelling, crying, hours of fighting. Our ability to communicate to each other just seems to have completely crumbled. He constantly seems to take what I'm saying in the wrong way, and I think he's overreacting and lashing out at me because of said stress and pressure. I just came here to ask for general communication advice, any tips, anything, advice appreciated. I have invested a huge amount into this relationship. I don't want it to end, but my mental health can't take much more of this fighting and not feeling understood whatsoever. We are in our 30s.
This is a good topic for us to talk about.
It is.
We have a lot to say about it.
We have been together how many years?
A lot.
How many?
Okay, 27.
27 years.
27 years.
We met in high school. We started dating senior year in high school.
Because I asked you out.
All right, yeah, we know that. Anyway, it was because I was so dashing.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the point being that every relationship has its ebbs and flows, and there's always stress. You won't have it all the time. You'll hit some really rough patches.
Mm-hmm.
And those are those most stressful moments are what test a relationship and your ability to communicate. So for Jellybones, this is a really pertinent question for everyone. Like, how do you handle these situations with your partner? And one thing that Jellybones is doing great, and it'd be interesting to see what her partner feels, is that you notice your partner's under a lot of stress, right? And that partner is lashing out at you because of that stress.
Yes.
That is really great to understand that most of the time when anger is directed at you in a relationship, it's really because of outside forces. And a lot of times in a good relationship and a solid foundation, what happens when things get really rough is there's no outlet. And you're with that person all the time. They can't have an outlet at work because that's inappropriate. Can't be fired. That outlet, all that stress is still there when they come home. And if you're under financial stress as well, and you may not see a way out of that. So part of the communication is actually working on the problems together.
Finding the solutions. So you have to identify what are you specifically mentioned financial pressure. So what are the financial issues that you're having, and what are the possible solutions? And just to recognize, too, that these solutions might take a long time. I don't know what the financial pressures are. But if you guys come together, have those conversations, can identify the problem, identify the solutions that you both agree on, and then what steps you need to take to reach that goal, that is going to go a long way to alleviate some of the stress and tension that's happening between the two of you.
So that's a good point, but how do you start the communication? Because that's what Jellybones is really looking for.
Yeah, so here is one piece of advice that I think would be great is you need to think about a time and place to have this conversation with the person. Obviously not after work, not after a long day, not, right before a fight or right after a fight or anything like that. Try to find a time that maybe you guys can go out somewhere, maybe not a restaurant, but just somewhere kind of quiet, relaxing for both of you, and say, hey, I know we've been fighting a lot lately. I just want to talk through what it is that is causing us to fight so much and try and find some of those solutions. So finding some space and time when you both are in a reasonable frame of mind to talk through some of these issues that you're having.
Can I counterpoint on that?
Yes, you may.
So I don't know much about Jellybones' relationship with their partner. You could also have something that relieves a bit of stress. Have a time where you get together, maybe in a room deep inside your house, where you
in
both
the dungeon.
take turns screaming. And what I mean by that is You are just yelling into the void together.
Not at each other.
Not at each other, together before you start a conversation. You're getting that tension out. You are releasing some of that frustration and anger. And again, you're going into it saying, we're going to do this. The goal is to just let things go, and then we're going to talk about this topic.
Mhm.
You know, and it's not a topic of like, you can't solve all the biggest problems. You're looking for small steps.
Mhm.
So let's say you're having even challenges and fights where you're not, you know, what about chores around the house? How are those being done?
Yeah.
Like your home life.
Yeah.
Let's put a plan together to do the chores together. Let's wash the dishes together. Let's do the laundry together. Let's actually just be together, and we'll talk about stuff and just be in each other's presence, and we'll do these things together. Reconnect after you've let off some steam. Let's talk about that. You don't want to necessarily deal with financial stuff right away, because financial stuff's big. It could be that you have to change jobs. It could be that you have to cut way back on what you're spending. It could be that you even have to, like, you might have to move. There are lots of things that you might have to do depending on how bad and dire your financial situation is. But know that there's always choices you can make to get out of that financial situation, right? They're not always fun choices, but they're always temporary choices.
Well, and think about it this way too. There's always choices you can make to lessen those financial burdens, to make those problems smaller and more manageable. So to what BD was saying, don't feel like necessarily you have to solve the entire problem instantly. Sometimes it will take steps or stages to get to where you need and want to be.
Right. But the idea is to make sure you're communicating that with your partner, that the goal is not to solve everything, not to solve every problem. Let's do some small stuff. Let's work on this stuff because we want to work on ourselves first. Because again, what you want to avoid is what is causing the yelling, the crying, the fighting for hours, right? It's not being on the same page, and it's not aiming the stress in the right direction. So figure out ways to alleviate that. If you need to go to a quiet place like Anna was suggesting, or if you need to get together and just both scream for about 5 minutes, wear yourself out, and then have that conversation.
So I had an idea about the screaming idea, because I do like it. But if you don't want your neighbors calling the police because they're afraid of what's going on in your house, you could always, like, I don't know, put a pillow over your face and scream into the pillow.
You could have your partner, you could put a pillow over your partner's face. And if they don't, just push harder if you need more relief. I don't
know. No. Absolutely not.
All right. But Jelly Bones, that's really, I think, the best advice we can give on how to really focus in on communication. Become a team. All your discussions should start as a team. You need to do things together. It really sounds silly to say team building, but that's what it is. Your teamwork has broken apart. Right? You don't have that. That's why you're lashing out at each other. You don't feel like you have that support structure from each other. And I'm sure your partner feels the same way.
Yeah.
But doesn't know how to handle it. So you have to be the glue that brings them back together. But you're just suggesting these things, and just do things together. The conversation should come naturally from that. And you'll know when it needs to be a little more serious and more refined, but you try to take the emotion out of it or get rid of the emotion before you start the conversation. That's key.
And what I would also recommend as well is when you're starting any of these conversations with your partner, don't blame. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame him, because the situation is what it is.
And if you do get blamed, point that out. Say, we're here to solve it, not to blame. I just want to talk this through. You just try to remind your partner again. Try to keep them on track as best you can. And hopefully it'll work out. Sometimes stress can push people in the worst places, and sometimes they don't come back from those bad places. So we wish you the best of luck on this.
Very much so.
So if anyone in our viewership has any additional advice for Jelly Bones, please put that in the comments down below. And Jelly Bones, thank you again for your question.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video.
And we appreciate that. If you need advice, go ahead and click on the link in the description below, and it may get answered in a later episode.
And if you want to watch more Twice the Advice, check out our other videos right now.